Ladies and gentlemen across the world, it is everybody's favorite time of the month once again, which is the monthly 2023 NBA mock draft here on the Soggy Sports channel. I know this is one of the most heavily anticipated things in the entire world, and I'm sure there will be millions of people listening in, and this one is going to be an absolute banger, and I hope y'all do enjoy the video. And without further ado, without rambling on too much, let's get right into this video. Okay, to kick things off, we are going to have the Houston Rockets selecting, obviously, the baby giraffe himself, Victor Wembanyama. I don't think this one needs much explanation. Pretty much every mock draft ever is going to have Wembanyama as the first overall pick. He is a 7'4" guy that can basically do anything you want him to do on the court. You want him to take a turnaround three-point shot? He got you. You want him to dunk the ball? He got you. You want him to protect the rim? He's got you. The only issue with him is maybe he runs into injury history and a little bit of injury problems as his NBA career goes on, but you really can't draft on a basis of that because there's no basis of him having prior injury history, so you just have to hope and bank on that his health does stay as good as it has been in the past. So he is a home run slam dunk. You have to pick him number one, and I have the Houston Rockets selecting Victor Wembanyama first overall. Moving on to the second overall pick, we have the San Antonio Spurs going with Scoot Henderson himself. Now, Scoot Henderson is a G League player, and he is basically, if you combined Russell Westbrook and you had Anthony Edwards and you locked them in a room and told them to have a kid, that's what you would get. You would get Scoot Henderson, as he is an extreme athlete with a very good handle. He can jump with the best of them, dunk with the best of them, but he's not just a run and dunk guy. He's also a very solid defender, a very good passer, and his three-point shot has came a long way from last year as well. So he's just an overall very, very good scorer, and on pretty much any other draft, he would be going number one overall. So the San Antonio Spurs will be getting an absolute steal, not even a steal, just an absolute beast with Scoot Henderson, and they should be very happy with getting him with the second overall pick. And now going to the third overall pick, we have the Detroit Pistons selecting Brandon Miller. Now, Brandon Miller is someone I absolutely love in this class, and he is also one of those players you can kind of combine. He has the build of Kevin Durant and then the shooting accuracy of a military-grade sniper, okay? The dude is an elite shooter with elite length, and he has tons of two-way potential because of it. He's already one of the better defenders in the draft and a very high defensive potential as well, and he can just score from all three levels of the court. His size helps him get in the paint. He can, like I said, defend one through probably the four positions, and then also he's probably one of the best three-point shooters in this entire class, while on top of being a very solid athlete with a very solid handle and a very good foundation to work upon. And I think give it a few years, he legitimately could have a little bit of all-star potential in him, and I just think he would perfectly fit the Detroit Pistons because they already have their backcourt for the future in Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, and they also already have their front court of the future in Jalen Duren, James Wiseman, and Isaiah Stewart. They can make some combination with that, so their guard situation and their big man situation is already kind of taken care of. And yes, their best player currently on the roster is their small forward, who is Bojan Bogdanovic, but I think personally he's not anywhere near the timeline that they were looking for, and for when they plan on being good, he's going to be pretty old already and probably not on the team. So I think Brandon Miller would fit the timeline a lot better, and I just think he fits their biggest need when it comes to long-term projection at that position. So I think overall he would just be an excellent pick for the Detroit Pistons. Now for the fourth overall pick, we have the Charlotte Hornets going with one half of the Zach and Cody twins in Azur Thompson. And the reason I have them going with Azur Thompson above Amen Thompson, which most people have above his twin Azur, is because I think Azur is just as good as a playmaker. He's just as athletic, and he is a better three-point shooter percentage-wise, and he's just an all-around more efficient scorer. Now, Amen Thompson is a very athletic guy who's a great playmaker, but like I said, his three-point percentage leaves a lot to be desired, and he's just overall not the most efficient scorer right now. And Azur Thompson is just a few, in my opinion, a good bit above his brother when it comes to being an efficient scorer, especially on that jump shooting, and that is very, very valuable for a small forward / shooting guard type player to be able to have a very good and usable jump shot, and that is a huge reason to why I have Azur Thompson here. But he is also debatably a better defender than his brother as well, which is a big deal. So I think he has a little bit higher two-way potential, and he already has a higher floor than his brother right now coming into the league. And I just think overall the Charlotte Hornets would be getting a guy that would benefit this team and even fit with his team very, very nicely. And overall, I just think that he would fit with his team very, very well, because I think him and LaMelo, although they are kind of similar players, being that they're both flashy players that can get a bucket whenever they want, I just think that they're both extremely capable passers as well, and they would just be a very good 1-2 punch at that guard position, and it would probably give them another second star potential level player that they desperately need to pair alongside LaMelo. And also, this is by far their weakest position at shooting guard, so I just think overall Azur Thompson would fit with his team almost seamlessly. And now going on to the fifth overall pick, we have the Orlando Magic selecting Cam Whitmore. Now, although I don't think Cam Whitmore is as guaranteed as a lot of people have him, and I don't think he's as good as a lot of people have him, I still have him going number 5 overall because I think he is literally the perfect fit for this Orlando Magic team. They already have Wendell Carter Jr. as their starting center for the long term. They already have guys like Paolo, Franz Wagner, and Markelle Fultz, who are probably their long-term guard solutions, at least for now. And they're really the only place they don't have a solidified player is that power forward position. And the power forward, I think he would fit perfectly for what they need. They don't need any more scoring. Franz and Paolo are very good scorers, and they can pretty much carry the offensive load night in and night out. And then they have guys like Cole Anthony off the bench who can do a lot of scoring for them. They need more of a guy that can lock up anyone in the paint and just an elite all-around defender, rebounder, and just going to do all the dirty work. And that is exactly what Cam Whitmore is going to provide for this team. He's an elite level defender already. He's very athletic. He can grab rebounds. He can guard basically every position on the floor. And I just think overall he would fit almost perfectly with this Orlando Magic team. So although I don't think he has the ceiling that a lot of players in his class do, because I don't think his offense will ever get to a point to where he's an elite offensive player, but I do see him being one of the better two-way players in the league maybe one day, and from day one will be one of the better defenders as well. And now number 6 overall, we have the Indiana Pacers with their first pick of the lottery, going with Nick Smith Jr. out of Arkansas. Now I think Nick Smith Jr. is a very, very solid player and maybe one of the best guards in this class. In my opinion, he's probably either the second or third best guard, because Scoot Henderson's by far the best, and then it's between him and Azur, or him and Amon, and I just think I think he's better than Amon, so it's really between him and Azur, but he is definitely a top 3 guard in my opinion in this class, and he is just extremely, extremely talented on the offensive end. He can score from all 3 levels of the court. He's very capable of pretty much doing anything he wants to do. He's a solid passer. He's a decent defender. He needs a little bit of work on that end, but he is one of the best offensive players in this entire class when it comes to pure offense, and I think he's going to benefit this team a lot, and I think he will fit very well, because Tyrese Halliburton, although an extremely good scorer who can score whenever he wants, is one of the best passers in the entire NBA, and if you pair one of the best passers in the NBA with one of the better scorers in the entire draft, in my opinion, an all-star level scorer, Nick Smith, that is a recipe for success. And then you even combine the fact that they still have guys like Benedict Mathurin, who's an absolute bucket and a rookie this year, and Miles Turner, who is currently having the best year of his career with them, and he's still fairly young in terms of NBA standards. I think this team would have a very bright future, and I think Nick Smith Jr. would be the way to go with their first pick in this year's lottery. And now with the 7th overall pick, we have the Orlando Magic selecting the other half of the Zach and Cody twins in Amen Thompson. Now, Amen Thompson, in my opinion, at this point is just the best player available, and I can't see him dropping anywhere farther beyond this point. And now, yes, I'm not as high on him as most people are in this class. I still think he's way too good to be dropping any way past this. And also, with this being the 2nd pick in Orlando Magic, outside of that power forward position, what they already addressed in Cam Whitmore earlier, I don't think there's really any more clear needs for a young, high-talented guy. So they're going to go with the best player available, and at his peak, he could be a superstar in this league. And there's really, like I said, just no clear need on this team at this point with the pick of Cam Whitmore. And I just think you're going to go with the best player available with the highest ceiling, and that is exactly what Amen Thompson is with the 7th overall pick. And now going to the 8th overall pick, we have the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Keontae George. Now, I could have went one of 2 ways with this pick. It was either between him or Gregory Jackson, but in my opinion, I went with Keontae George for a few different reasons. One of them because it gives them a legitimate scorer off their bench. Now, when this team is fully healthy, they have one of the deepest teams in the NBA. The problem is their health is a ginormous problem, and a guy like Keontae George is going to be a consistent guy that can maybe get you around 10 points a game while at least being able to attempt to facilitate an offense, and he would probably be their best offensive backup guard on this roster, and I think he would immediately replace someone like Kira Lewis, who is getting a little bit of run as well with the injuries kind of cropping up for this team, and I think he would immediately replace them and give them a much better option as well. And then also I think he would just be a better backup for someone like CJ McCollum, because they do play kind of similar, kind of like they're not too flashy, they're not going to take over a game, but they're both very capable offensive players, and that's what I think Keontae George is going to be able to provide in this league. And like I said, bench scoring is one of their weaknesses when they're not fully healthy, and that is exactly what Keontae George is going to be able to provide here. And I just think overall he would be a very solid fit with this team, but I also wouldn't mind if anyone gave him Gregory Jackson as well. Going all the way over to Canada, we have the Toronto Raptors selecting at 9th overall, and I have them picking Anthony Black. Now, Anthony Black, in my opinion, although he is not a superstar or anything, I see him being a almost more athletic Josh Giddey type player, which is an extremely valuable player to have. He is 6'7" and he is a point guard. He can do basically everything. He's not an elite scorer, but he can score from all three levels. He's one of the better passers, and if not the best passer in this entire class. He's very, very smart as well, and he is a little bit more athletic than someone like Giddey. So I just think overall his ceiling might not be the highest, but he could be very, very similar to Josh Giddey, and that, like I said, very valuable to any team. And also I think he kind of plays like almost Kyle Lowry-esque, just at a bigger level of being 6'7", and the Toronto Raptors had a lot of success with a point guard that plays like Lowry and plays like Anthony Black. So I think overall this team would be very, very happy to get Anthony Black with the 9th overall pick. And with the first pick in the double digits, we have the Portland Trailblazers going with Chris Murray. Now, Chris Murray is probably the most safe pick in this lottery, as he's going to be for sure a 3-level scorer. He's probably not going to lose you any games. He's just going to be a very, very solid presence on the offensive end pretty much no matter what. He's very, very smart. He's not going to make a mistake most likely. He's just going to be one of those solid and consistent buckets off your bench, or maybe even a starting level small forward when you need him to. And that 1-2 punch of him and Shadion Sharp is going to be very, very fun to watch, because I'm sure Shadion Sharp, even maybe by the end of this year, is going to be a starter on this team, and Chris Murray can take that spot off the bench going into next season, and I think he would be a great replacement, and it would pretty much be like they didn't miss a beat. Now, yes, he doesn't have the flashy athleticism that Shadion Sharp does that makes him so fun to watch, but he's still a very, very good scorer that anyone would love to have off their bench. And 11th overall, we have the Washington Wizards going with Maxwell Lewis. Now, Maxwell Lewis, you couldn't have convinced me at the beginning of this year he wasn't going to be a top 10 pick, and he isn't far from it in my opinion, but he has kind of had a little bit of a lackluster second half to the college season. But nonetheless, he is one of the better scorers in this entire class. He has extremely high upside. In my opinion, he does have star potential. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to come into the league and dominate, because he does still have a few shortcomings. Like on defense, he isn't the greatest, and also his offense can come and go at times, which is a little concerning. But I do think Maxwell Lewis is going to be a very, very good player in this class, and I think the Washington Wizards could potentially be getting one of the steals of this draft class if he does do this. And overall, I just think that he is going to be very, very solid for them. And Maxwell Lewis, the Wizards kind of have to swing at this point, because Bradley Beal is not going to stay there that much longer. He's going to demand a trade if they stay this bad, and Maxwell Lewis has that star potential that you have to swing on if you're a team like the Washington Wizards. And I think overall, no matter what, at his lowest, he is going to be a solid, okay level NBA player no matter what. Another big reason why I have them taking this kind of risk here is because they were way too safe in the past drafts. I mean, Corey Kispert, you knew what he was going to be. He's going to be a very good three-point shooter, but he's never going to be a star. He's never going to really be a franchise-changing guy. Denny Avengita, although some people thought he was a star, I was low on him. He was just going to be a okay two-way guy, mainly a defender, but still not a franchise-changing guy. And I think it's time for the Wizards to legitimately take a risk and actually swing for the fences here, because if you hit it, it could do wonders for the future of your franchise. And now coming into the home stretch with the 12th overall pick, we have the Utah Jazz selecting Gregory Jackson. Now, this is much lower than I've had him going in any of my other mock drafts, and it is basically because Gregory Jackson is having a horrendous second half to his college season. Now, in the beginning of the season, he showed a ton of promise. Like, he's an elite defender. He has very good athleticism, extremely high two-way potential. He can shoot the ball pretty much at all three levels. He's very good around the paint. He's strong, and he can just do a lot of things. And he's one of those players that on my favorite team, the Pelicans, I would love to have him. But due to his offensive struggles in the second half of the year, it has brought up a lot of concerns, and he really has not looked good against other good teams in college. He's been very good against bad teams, but against the good teams lately, he has not looked the same, and South Carolina has struggled a lot because of it. Now, I don't know if this is because teams are focusing in on him and things like that because his team isn't that good around him, or what. Now, I'm still fairly high on Gregory Jackson. I think he's going to be a very good player in the league, but I just dropped him a little bit because, I mean, his offense just has not been on the level that it was in the beginning of the season, but I still have him as a lottery pick, and I think Utah, he would fit fairly well here, and he's probably going to fill one of their weakest positions, and he's just one of those guys that can defend the 1 through 5 fairly effectively. He's going to be very versatile, and at best, you have one of the better two-way players in this class with the 12th overall pick. And now with the second to last pick, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting Jarace Walker out of Houston. Now, Jarace Walker, in my opinion, is a very good fit with his Oklahoma City team, as he will pretty much set up the front court for the future, being Chet Holmgren, last year's number 2 overall pick, and now Jarace Walker, this year's 12th overall or 13th overall pick. And I think them two would be a very good front court to watch for the future. They both can score at all three levels. They both can handle the ball fairly good, and they're fairly versatile bigs as well. So I think they would fit very well together. And like I said, they're on the same timeline, which would be very beneficial for them. And also would be one of the, probably the youngest starting five in the entire NBA of Josh Giddey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Jarace Walker, and Chet Holmgren. I think that would be a very fun starting lineup and something to really build off of going forward. And they would probably put together one of the best young cores in the entire NBA going forward. And they're really just another star level player away from being a very scary playoff contending team in the near future if they were able to pull this off in this draft. And now with the final pick in the lottery, I have the Golden State Warriors going with Kyle Filipkowski. Now, if you would have told me literally even since last mock draft I made that I'd have Kyle Filipkowski going anywhere near the lottery, I would have laughed in your face. I was extremely low on him, but he is having a very, very solid second half to his college season, and he is showing me a lot of things that he did not show in the beginning of the year. He's rebounding the ball better, his efficiencies have gone up, he's scoring at a higher rate, and he's also protecting the rim better as well, and those are all things he wasn't doing in the beginning of this college season, and it looks like he is really maturing at a very fast pace, and I think he would fit with this Golden State Warriors team a lot because of a few different reasons. Right now, they only have one true center on their roster, which is Kevon Looney, and it's always nice to at least have another backup option on your bench if Kevon Looney goes down with an injury or something. And Kyle Filipkowski also is kind of one of those new age centers who, although he is still very capable of rebounding, blocking shots, and yes, he does need to get stronger, but that always comes with time for most rookies. So I do have faith that he will be able to get stronger in the NBA, but he's also one of those guys that can really spread the floor at a high level for a center. I think he's like 6'11 or 7 foot tall, and he's a very capable three-point shooter. He needs to get a little bit better in the paint. I think he's shooting like sub 50%, and that's never good for a 6'11, 7 foot guy, but he also doesn't play like a traditional big, so it's a little bit more acceptable as well. And I just think overall he could fit very well with this Golden State Warriors team. And I kind of saw something when they had Valencia just 2 years ago in the NBA Finals, and on that NBA Finals winning team, they used Valencia in a very interesting way, and it was very interesting to see how they kind of revived his career and almost made him look like a very solid NBA level player. And he just decided to go overseas after winning the finals because he wanted to, but he could have easily been on this team, and he was a fairly vital part to this team as well at times. And I think Kyle Filipkowski could almost perfectly fill in that role while also being a better player on the defensive end as well. But unfortunately, guys, that's movie revealed. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that this is how the mock draft's going to go? How do you think it's going to go? I need your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like the point, hit the like button and subscribe button. I mean the absolute word to me, and I hope you have a blessed day because I have a blessed day. So you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah, blah.